What's good, y'all? I hope everybody's living well and staying blessed. It's your boy Marcus B. As always, I'm with the one and only Mr. Evan Simmons. And this is episode 22 of Holla at Your Boy. Today, I sat down with a close friend of mine. He's a choir director out at the high school that I teach at. His name is Cameron Roucloux. And today, we sat down and talked about education, as we tend to do on this show, as well as music in general, some college life. But a good majority of it, so probably about 30, 40 minutes of it, was just talking about being a dad. He is about to have a kid in December, so we were just kind of breaking down what it's going to be like, what it means to be a father, what it's going to change, and all those things. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode. As always, if you like what we're doing out here, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share anywhere you can. It would be greatly appreciated. Trying to get this to as many people as possible. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. Peace. Cool, right?
Yeah, I dig it, man.
As always, shout out to my boy Eric Puente for coming up with that. I asked him to make me a intro theme song. And that's what he shot back at me, and I'm like,
That's so much better than the vast majority of intros
Right?
to like anything.
The intro theme song is very hit or miss, and when it is a miss, it is aggressively just distasteful.
It's like one of those things I feel like you don't really think about. Like you're like, oh, yeah. Just for like a short second, you're like, yeah, that's good.
I enjoy this. Well, anyways, welcome to Holla at Your Boy. First and foremost, as always, introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, where you're from, what you do, deepest darkest secrets, or if you don't want to talk about that, we don't have to. But
like
up to you.
it.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm Cameron Roucloux. I'm a choir director here in Central Texas. I grew up outside of Austin in Pflugerville, and I've been in the Central Texas Temple Belton area for, I guess, a little over 10 years now, if you include college and post-college life. So, yeah, that's kind of, I grew up there outside of Austin in Pflugerville, graduated from Pflugerville High School. Folks still live there.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad's an Austin native.
Yeah.
Grew up there in the, I'm trying to think. I guess like 60s, early 70s.
Oh, wow. So he runs deep in Austin.
Yeah. So, and my grandparents, still live there, and they, Dad graduated from Austin High. They left for a little while. He actually he graduated from, used to be Southwest Texas.
Go Cats.
So yeah, he's vocal performance there, and he's a church choir director.
Okay.
So, that's kind of how that was my first exposure to choir music. Was for sure, seeing him do that all the time. And
so you've always been surrounded by church and Jesus and singing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so he just had, let's see, in April, I think in April? Yeah. No, July. I don't know what month it is.
Hey, man. February to September was a fake month.
Right, correct. One long month. Yeah, he just had 25 years of being at the church that he's at in Pflugerville. So,
okay.
Yeah, he's been there for a long time. He has a vocal performance degree.
Mm-hmm.
So he really, I would say he's my first inspiration, my first, person that I saw doing music and doing it well. But I guess when I was a kid, I was kind of like, I didn't want to do that because my dad did that. That kind of thing. So.
Well, overall, what's that like? Because I don't think, Evan, your family isn't musical, right?
Well, yeah, my dad was a percussionist.
Was your dad a percussionist?
And then my grandfather on my mom's side, he was a percussionist too. He was a
really?
choreographer.
Okay.
He did whenever Jimi Hendrix came to America.
Yeah.
My grandfather was like drumming for him for a little bit.
Oh, shoot.
It's a good time.
Just like little tidbit thrown out there.
Yeah.
Oh, by
How's
the way,
that never come up?
I don't know.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, I'd love to know more about that.
Well, I asked because, well, I guess I'm in the minority then, because that was not the case for me. Like, I'm very much the only musical person in my family. So I've always been curious and you started talking about it where you're like, nah, I'm not going to do it because Dad did it.
Right.
But what was the turning point there?
Well, I think, like, you know, and I like talk to my kids all the time that are wanting to major in music, or, you know, or band or orchestra kids, whatever. I know that, like, I've had a kind of an advantage because I have a parent that went through getting a music degree, and, like, in the long run, like, it's been such a blessing for me in, like, so many levels, just because, you know, there are things that he and I can talk about that, like, he gets because, you know, we both have music degrees. You know, like, all three of us, like, we have music degrees. So there's a certain level, like, you know, the three of us here, like, we could talk about stuff that people who don't have a music degree, they're never going to understand like we do, you know? So, no, it definitely was something that he always tried to get me to, like, sing, and you know, I was in, like, children's choir and youth choir at church, but I wasn't really interested in it. I was in band in middle school.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
French horn.
Shout out.
Yeah, you know, because, well, and I played French horn because me and all my siblings, one of those things with him having a music degree, we all took piano lessons. So that was not negotiable in our house, right? So I will say with each sibling, you know, the level of, like, him being able to, like, demand the practice time became less and less. But I'm the oldest, so, you know, I took piano through 5th grade, like kindergarten through 5th grade. So it was always like, if you're not gonna do piano, then you gotta do something with music.
Okay. That makes sense.
You know, so yeah, I think at an early age, even though a lot of times, I think with kids in general, it's like, I don't want to practice. I don't want to. Yeah. You know, I think it instilled, you know, a love of music in me, even though I was having to, you know, learn scales and minuets and junk like that. But then I got to middle school and I joined band, and I really liked it. Had a great middle school band director. You know, I was in wind ensemble. Like, I enjoyed playing French horn, but, like, a lot of towns in Texas, and, you know, football is king. You know, and I was always a big kid, and once I got to high school, that was, you know, Friday Night Lights were in my eyes. Like, that was the hope and the dream, right? You know, so I didn't want to do marching and band. So I didn't do anything with music my freshman year of high school. Okay. And I found myself, like, really missing it. So I was still doing, like, you know, like, church youth choir, that kind of thing, because Dad was in charge of it. So it was like,
kind of mandatory.
You're in it. Yeah. You know, so, like, that was for me and all my siblings, like, as long as he's doing that. And we kind of all understood that. Like, it wasn't maybe my youngest brother was kind of, like, the one that fought it the most. But, you know, I liked it because I liked music. Yeah. You know, and then I had some friends in high school that were like, hey, you should be in choir. Like, we need more boys. Like, the mantra of, like, every choir program ever. Yeah. Like, you know,
need more boys in the program.
Correct. So
come sing low notes.
Yep. So I was like, well, okay. So I went and auditioned, and we didn't have a special, like, men's period or anything. Okay. So it was like, if you were a boy and you just, like, weren't totally stupid, you know, you were in the varsity mixed choir, like, right out of the gate. Oof. So yeah, it was definitely a little bit of a learning curve with solfege, but I read music, so it just, you know, it took me a little bit of time before I was like, oh, I get it. Like, and then I really found that I loved it. You know, I found that, like, oh, this is fun. Like, I enjoy it. I'm not terrible at this. Like, you know, I was pretty mediocre as a football player. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, you know, I love game days, but I was not big. I did not like practicing, and just
didn't cut it out. God.
Yeah, so I played 3 years, and, you know, I was on varsity my junior year when we went to the state championship game. Damn. Which was a super cool experience.
For sure, yeah.
Like, I really, you know, I think everybody that plays football probably has some, like, baggage from that in general, but, like, I really am grateful for that experience alone. It was
Yeah.
like super cool. We actually, I mean, every round of the playoffs we were like underdogs, and you know,
Just
yeah,
won every single year.
and then we
That's crazy.
lost to Katy, which is like also understandable. So
Yeah, Katie.
but then I ended up not playing my senior year.
Really?
And I had decided I wanted to major in music. So by that time, going into my senior year, I was like, at that point, I thought I wanted to do church music, kind of like what my dad was doing.
Okay.
So I was like, I kind of had like a fallout thing with the coaches, and I was like, well, I already knew I wanted to major in music, so I quit playing football and took theory instead,
Okay.
which ended up being a really good thing for me
Good move.
in the long term.
I think anybody that's trying to major in music should 100%
Dude,
take
yes,
whatever. If your high school has that option of some theory class, take it.
absolutely. And it's, I think where we teach, it's hard because we have so many
There's so
music
much
options.
So
Like,
much going on.
We have so many kids that are in so many different, level ensembles, so many top ensembles, that it's hard for them to fit another music class in that schedule. Like, I know for me, when I was in high school, it was like we had one show choir. There was a jazz band that wasn't like anything.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to be in the jazz band. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like here, it's like, yeah, we want to do that.
Yeah.
Like it's something.
We doing it. Yeah.
And there's two different ensembles. So like all those kids that are in all that other stuff, those are the kids that would at my school took theory because they wanted to go be music majors.
That makes sense.
And but there wasn't this vast plethora of other choices at the school. So
I mean, my high school is definitely in the same boat. I think I didn't realize we had a choir program until I think my junior year, just straight up. Like, I knew we had a choir hall,
yeah,
but I didn't know, like, actual choir happened.
right.
As bad as it is, but I mean, that's just how small the program was. And then we had 2 concert bands, mariachi, and, like, half, like, similar to Flowers, where he does half the day
At the high
high
school.
school, then the other half floating middle schools.
Yeah.
So.
And see, my district at home, I don't think they still don't have a strings program. So that's like
I think that Pflugerville. I know Leander is still against
strings,
right?
I don't know.
I'm double check me on that,
Yeah.
but I think Leander just doesn't have an orchestra program.
Yeah,
but
because their bands are so.
that's why their band
bands are
program is so
good.
massive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they supplement it with having like those community string things.
Yeah. But dude, that was probably one of the best choices I could have made for my like personal musical journey.
Yeah.
And the guy that taught it was the color guard instructor.
Really?
Yeah, he went to UT and had a music degree, but he was a color guard teacher.
Interesting.
And dude was an incredible, great theory teacher. I don't think I've ever talked to him since high school, but like Mr. Warner was the bomb. Like great theory teacher. But I think, so like not playing my senior year allowed me to obviously take theory, which ended up having like a monetary, like I tested out of my whatever intro or remedial theory class when I got to UMHB, which like at UMHB saved me like $2,100 or something.
Oof. Jesus.
Yeah, it looks like Leander doesn't have orchestra.
Yeah.
Okay, for sure. So I think just that I knew Leander didn't, and I guess Pflugerville, that would make sense.
I think Round Rock does.
I think Round Rock does.
but
Round Rock, Stony Point, those ones do.
Right.
But Leander and maybe Pflugerville, Georgetown.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I got to test out of my theory class. Let me focus on getting ready for auditions.
Nice.
I was in the musical, so it helped me, I think, kind of clear my mind and prepare to take that next step of majoring in music in college.
So out the gate, were you gonna do music education, or because this is news to me? I didn't know that there was such a degree as church.
Yeah,
I don't know what the formal term is, but that church music.
Yeah,
degree?
so technically my bachelor's is in church music.
Really?
Yeah, so So usually you're going to find those degrees at private schools that are like religiously affiliated.
Yeah.
So like you're probably not going to find that at, like any of the UT schools or
For sure.
other. You may find like a sacred music degree at some state schools, but it's different. So it definitely was like, it's a degree tailored. It's through the music school, but there is like you also take some like upper level theology classes and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like it's a kind of a. The idea is like that they're gonna churn out people who are ready to go into full time like church music as like church pastoral music stuff. So, that was kind of like originally what I felt like I was supposed to do. But like the longer I was in school, and really, you were kind of asking with my dad being a music major, really when I got to college, that's really when that became like an advantage for me.
Yeah.
Kind of an example, like I struggled hard with diction, specifically French. Like it was
super
it was rough for me. I had to retake. That's the one class I had to retake in college, and and it wasn't like I wasn't trying. It was hard. It was rough. I was not like I remember one day that we're like going over the vowels and stuff like that. Me and my friend Gerald are sitting next to each other, and there's like it looks like 27 vowels in one word, and my teacher's like, and that word is pronounced, and you're just like, I don't. Like why? Like this is, I refuse.
Yeah.
And so I think that like compounded it, just it being frustrating on that level. But like my dad, that's something where I was communicating with him about that all throughout that course. Like, man, I'm struggling with IPA. Like I just don't get the French, like, and and that's where he was like, yeah, I get it, and because he's a vocalist even, so it's like we were able to have that level of understanding, whereas like I think some parents that don't know, it's like I just don't, why don't you get it, like I don't know what to tell you, you need to make the grade. So like he was gracious, he was like, I get it, that's your one. Like that's your one, and you need to fix the grade. I understand, but that's it. There's no more chances after that one. Yeah. And I felt like that was like super fair.
Yeah. I think a majority of people at least failed one class.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. What was your class?
My class was English because I just didn't want to go.
You scrub. How dare you?
It was the one AP class I didn't get credit for, and I just didn't want to go to English class during music school.
Yeah, no, I get that too. Like, I ended up getting a B when I retook it. So since it's in your major, it replaces that class.
For sure.
Right.
But no, for me, my struggle is math. Like, oh my God.
Dude, I took quite literally the most nonsense math course that Texas State has to offer. And it is, I think the formal title has something to do with math for liberal arts.
It's like,
and it was aggressively
apparent
the people that I was in this class with and how little I was gonna when I first was thinking about doing college, I was gonna be a mechanical engineer. I understood math at a very not a high level, but like I got to pre-cal and I was like, I understand this. This is too much work. I'm out. As opposed to people that go to pre-cal, they're just like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. But I remember because I was like, I just need to take this damn math course. I'm not trying to think about anything. But then I remember being in that class being like, you dumb. Why you should have just taken algebra, because the people around you are sucking the life out of you because they don't understand how to translate decimals into like fractions.
Yeah. As soon as we started putting letters with the numbers, that's when I was done with math. Yeah. I like theory and I'm pretty okay at it, which is kind of like weird because I'm terrible at math. Like, okay, like weird. So when I was in high school, I just had to have 3 years of math I didn't have to do it my senior year.
Really?
Nope. So I did
Must
Algebra
be nice.
2. It was.
Damn, so you must have been like the last class then.
Yes, before they did the 4x4. Yeah. So I took Algebra 2 my junior year, and then I do a 5-year music degree.
Yeah.
Because I add all this stuff onto my church music degree to make it the equivalent of a music ed degree.
Gotcha.
Without having to change. Because the thing was, like, if I changed degrees, I was going to have a whole lot more core classes. Because during my time at UMHB, they adopted a full liberal arts diploma. So it's a lot more, like, non-major courses. You know, my core would have gone from, like, 24 hours to, like, 48 hours.
Oh, Jesus.
So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So I just had to take college algebra. It was the one math class I took. But like a really smart guy, I waited till my very last semester.
Oh, attaboy.
Like I student taught in the fall. Like I'm done.
Really?
I just have like this class and a couple randos that I hadn't finished yet. And this is like second semester of my 5th year. And first day, I'm sitting in this algebra class with, like, you know, all these, like, 18-year-old freshmen. And I'm, like, 22, about to graduate, about to get engaged or just got engaged, like, ready to – I've already accepted a job at this point.
Jesus.
Like, and this little, like, math lady professor, like, the first day is like, all right, so today we're just going to go over, like, things you should already be familiar with.
Yeah.
And she's, like, going through all this stuff, and I'm just, like, sitting there, like,
yo, word?
and, like, all these 18-year-olds are like, oh, my God, yeah, like, you know, like, tangents and parabolas, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just, like, sitting there just, like... Like I am in, you know that meme that's like, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Like that was it, literally. So after that class was over, I went up to her and I was like, excuse me, ma'am, like I'm a music major. I've already got a job I've accepted, like to be a choir director. I gotta pass this class so I can graduate. And she was like, well, you just need to like try your hardest and, you know, blah blah, all this kind of stuff. Oh my God, dude. That was the hardest thing I ever had to do in college, was that math class. And the truth be told, if it wasn't for my friends, I wouldn't have passed that class. I would like come home and like think I did all my math work right, and my roommates would be like, yeah, let me check your homework. And they'd be like, well, but see, just give me the pencil. Like So like, I got my
so wrong.
I got my D for diploma, and like,
oh man,
it like sucked because I would have had a 3.5, so I would have graduated whatever, cum laude,
yeah,
whatever, yeah, I would have had that, but I didn't even care.
I too was just shy of cum laude.
It's like, but I just graduated with my master's this summer with a 4.0.
Shout out, redemption,
yeah. Yes,
redemption on it.
Yeah, and going back, it's so much better. It's harder.
For sure.
It's so much better. Like, it's a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
Like, you're way more aware of what you need to know, and also
how to do things, and how to be smart with your time, and
right. And also, you're not like just getting out of your parents' house, so it's like I can stay up as late as I want, like, you know, like stupid stuff like that.
I'll just wake up early tomorrow and take care of it.
Yeah,
we don't have that option anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and like I never skipped class in high school or did anything like that. Like, you know, the church my dad worked at was literally like a block from the high school, you know, and like my dad, like, he didn't play. Like, he was like, you're going to go to school. You know, like, I never had the guts to skip or anything like that in high school because I knew he'd find out and whoop me. Like, so I just didn't. I literally never did that. And so, like, when I first got to college, it was like, oh, like, I can like sleep in and like no one, yeah, right, like you know, so it's I feel like it's a lot when you first get there.
Wait, so did UNT let you student teach before you were done with all your classes?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think there was a way you could do that. I didn't do that, but
I was done with all my music courses.
No, bro, Dr. Cavett did not care. She was like, oh, no. You have that math class?
Oh, my
God. Okay, we'll wait. You're going to take that math class right now. and then you'll student teach the next semester.
And see, I could have done that, but I wanted to student teach in the fall because I felt like I already knew I wanted to teach high school.
Yeah.
And I knew if I did it in the spring that I was probably going to be in the heart of somebody's UIO. And like that probably meant I wasn't going to get to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, and also there's just, I mean, we all know this, like starting the school year is probably like the hardest thing we do.
It is.
There's just so many different things, so many different plates we're spinning.
Yeah.
It's like, if you haven't ever seen that from behind the curtain, and then it's like, all right, start the school year. Like, I can't imagine that without having seen that before I started teaching.
I lucked out because that exact same thing happened to me. I was like, I did my observations in the fall. I had 2 classes I needed to take care of in the spring, and then I got to do student teach in the fall. So I got to like see a high school start, and then I did elementary, and then I did middle school for student teaching. So I got to see all 3 grade levels, all 3 school levels, kind of start the year and how that goes and what that means and all that. So yeah, it's definitely so much different.
Especially, well, like my first year teaching was like, oh my God. You were talking about earlier, you had some friends that were like going through it right now because in rough situations, I almost quit. Like,
really?
Yeah. You know, well, and that was the thing, like halfway through the year, I was like, I don't know, like I got this church music degree. Maybe I should be doing that instead of teaching because this is not where it's at right now. Like, but I was in like I was in a little rural district, kind of outside of Austin, Round Rock area.
My buddy works at that school.
Okay.
I don't know if he replaced you.
Yeah, I think, okay, is he kind of a short guy? Yeah, I think I met him. Yeah. Because he...
Goofy looking kid.
Yeah.
Got a 12-year-old body and a 35-year-old man's face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he was one of our feeder guys. Now, he had him earlier in his teaching career.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that was... And it's a better situation now than whenever I was there. But, dude, when I was there... I think I thought it was gonna be like Coach Carter or something, like I was gonna show up and it was gonna be like Coach Carter goes to choir.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be like, no, like we're gonna be a choir family, and they're gonna be like, yeah, we know solfege now. Like
I definitely watched that movie a couple of times before my first year of teaching. I was like, all right, let me get inspired to go teach.
Let's get after it.
Or like I wanted to like tap into my inner Denzel, like bringing the Titans together, just
there
like,
just like,
you know, with like the underbite, right? You know, like, but that didn't happen
at all.
It was
sure.
Man, it was rough times, you know, and like I got married halfway through, or I guess like two-thirds of the way through the year.
Okay.
But it was like
Okay.
It was like I had 6 periods of middle school. And all the classes were boys and girls, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude, it was a rough time. It was like I got there, and I was like, yeah, they'll know something. Like, no, they literally didn't know anything. So it was probably like by February, right around the time TMEA rolled around. I was like, I was such a bad teacher. Like, if my, like, cooperating music ed teacher from college, I was like, if she could see me now, she would just, like, cut my throat, like, in front of all these kids. Like, just like, you're not worthy of having this music degree. But, I don't know, we made it through it, you know, and then, you know, I moved on after that. But, yeah, that first year, I think the first year for everybody, like, it's just hard in general.
Yeah. No, I mean, we did, me and Evan did an entire episode on mental health of the first year teacher and how rough it can be.
Well, I think in general, just like transitioning from college into the adult world, like, so Jamie, my wife, she graduated, you know, we came into UMHB the same time, but she did a traditional degree, so she was done in 4 years.
Gotcha.
So I saw her like transition into, you know, the adult like workforce. You know, she had a full-time job working here in town, and you know, I thought I was always like giving her a hard time. We were dating and I was still in school, and she'd come over and like pass out on the couch at like 8 o'clock. Yeah. I was like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're so lame. She was like, just wait. Like, you know, and then like the next year I'm just like, so my buddy Gerald, he's a choir director in Killeen. He just had a TMEA honor choir this last year. So shout out to Gerald.
Shout out Gerald. I remember seeing that.
He and I were living together with a few other guys, but we were the only ones teaching at the time, or student teaching.
Gotcha.
And I guess also teaching the next year. We would just come home and like go to bed like at like 6:30 or 7. All of our roommates are like, hey, do y'all want to like hang out at, you know, have so and so come over at like 10 o'clock? And we're like, no.
Not at all.
Like,
not at all.
I need like 16 hours of sleep before tomorrow. Like,
dude, I remember when I was student teaching elementary, I would get home. So like the school day would be done by 3:30. I'd get home at like 4:30, and I had to take a nap before I did anything with my life. Like I could not muster the energy to go and like grocery shop or work out or literally anything else. Like I need to do lesson plans. All right, give me like an hour and a half.
Yeah. No, it's my elementary cooperating teacher the first day, and I like got super lucky. She was awesome. She was like, you know, tell me what you want to do, like, you know, with teaching. And I was like, I want to teach high school. She was like, you don't want to teach elementary? And I was like, ma'am, like, I mean, no offense, but like, I will go work at Target before I teach elementary music. Like,
I'm right there with you.
Like, and it's not a knock. It's like, I know I think that teaching elementary music is the hardest job. I think that you have to have a very specific set of skills to do that correctly.
You're a special kind of person to be an effective elementary teacher.
And I think there's a lot of people who don't know that about themselves. Yeah. Like, they don't know they don't have those skills.
Yeah.
So, like, I respect the heck out of elementary music teachers. And as, like, high school people, I know that, like, we don't have a program without good elementary teachers. But at the same time, like, I will go flip patties before I do that. Just because I just don't, I'm not organized enough.
Not equipped enough to do it.
Like, to like sequence everything, like all, you know, like.
Dude, I remember
oh my
doing
God.
those lesson plans.
Yep, I know.
I remember doing those elementary lesson plans.
They're like, it has to be so detailed, like every little thing.
My classes were, I think, 30 minutes. I planned 14 activities with my kindergarten class. I was like, bro, I am for sure. And it's like a 2-minute walk-in and a 3-minute lineup. I'm like, yo, I just got to make 25 minutes. 14 should be enough. We got through all 14 in like 15 minutes, and I was like, oh no, I got 10 minutes left.
Just like, hello, kindergarten. Just like for 10 more minutes.
Just freaking out. I was like, you remember the game we played like 5 minutes ago? Let's run that back.
My name's Mr. Bonilla.
Dude, it was so much stress and anxiety happened immediately when I realized I was done with my lesson and there was 10 minutes left on the board, and I was like, oh no.
It's just start sweating. Yeah. No,
that was one thing I didn't do elementary for my student teaching.
I think it should be.
Get out of here.
It needs to be a requirement.
It needs to be a requirement.
I thought it was.
Like, no.
It depends on the school.
Yeah,
if you go to some fake school like UNT,
you're
where
just like jazz.
But yeah, I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I would have been like
I would have loved to have seen you in an elementary.
Those 15 minutes would have happened for me every single day. I would have I wouldn't be able to do it.
Dude, but it makes you. It's like performing. Like in those moments when you're like, oh my God, I have like 40 like 6-year-olds that are just about to eat each other alive.
Right.
You've got to be like, hey, like, we're gonna do something, and you just like pull something out of your butt and go, and you're like, oh, that worked.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, my chick was like, well, okay, like I'm not. She was like, if you don't want to teach elementary, like I'm not gonna make you do like a whole bunch of extra stuff.
Yeah.
So like mostly I just got to help, which was like super fun. Like I like kids. It's not that I don't like kids. I don't have the patience to tell them like. They're like, well, why is this a quarter note? I'm like, dude, because it is.
Because
like,
some white dude from 300 years ago said it was.
Right, correct.
And we just keep agreeing with him.
I think, or my problem was like keeping a straight face half the time. You know, you're like asking them a question like, you know, who wants to lead this song? And they're like, my cat pooped in my shoe this morning. You're like, oh, okay, like. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about,
dude.
And that stuff spreads. It's like wildfire. Like
so
once
quick,
one of them
bro.
starts, they're all like, "I have a belly button." And you're like, "Okay, like,
sure do." Do you have a belly button?
I think my favorite thing that I ever got asked in elementary was like, the first day I was there, some kid like walked in the room and like. Walked right up to me and was like real serious and just kind of like looked me up and down and was like, who are you? It's like I don't know, man. Like
that's how you talk to people.
Like, I'm trying to figure that out.
I don't know. Who am I?
It was rough, man.
That is the one thing I did appreciate about elementary. Was
brutal
the
honesty.
Brutal honesty, dude.
Dude, they were like, I had another kid that was like, when are you going to adopt children? And I was like,
Jesus.
You're in 3rd grade, man. Like, why are we talking about this? I was like,
I didn't know what adoption is.
I was like, I'm just trying to get to the wedding in March. Like, I don't know. Can tell you our wedding colors, I think. Like,
dude, I remember I lucked out with my cooperating teacher. She is one of those.
Dude, it makes such a huge difference.
Those elementary savants. I think she's been doing it for like 25 years, something like that, and she just killed it. And she was like, you got 7 weeks with me. The first week, you're just gonna figure it out.
Yep.
Just see what elementary education is like, and then each week, we're gonna add one grade level.
That's kind of like what my chick did.
So by the 7th week, you're teaching the entire day,
right.
kinder through 5th, and then you'll be straight, ready to go.
Right.
I remember that first day with kinder, it just went downhill so quick.
Like,
oh my God. And then I saw the greatness of her that day too, because like
they'll just be like bing bang boom, and all the kids are like shoomp, like they're right back, right in their hand. You're like, what did you just do?
What just happened?
Like,
what did I just witness?
They're just like,
what spell did you just cast?
Because literally that's what happened. Some kid was like, I got my finger, I need a Band-Aid. There's a girl like hugging my leg. There's another kid that's like trying to fight another kid. I'm just like, hey, sit over. Yo, what is, oh my God.
And that's the thing is you can't yell at them like you do high school kids, because then they'll just be like, ah, and then that like spreads like wildfire, and they're all like, I'm crying, me too, like, and it's just like, then you look around and it literally is like the room's on fire,
dude. That's what it felt like. And then she just walked in from her office and she had one of those single like like chime bells, and she just like ding, and then everybody like and like looks at her, and the girl's still hugging my leg, but she's like paying attention to her, and I'm just like, what is
Yep.
And she just like tagged out, and she's like, we'll talk in a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, that was my role, was pretty much just be like a human jungle gym for the kids. Just like, they're like, yeah, you're like 9 feet tall. Like, just let them crawl all over. I was like, okay, like whatever.
All
man.
right. Yeah. Okay.
She was like, yeah, just hang on the back and hang out with the kids. I was like, okay. Yeah. It's like crawling. And like, I had like one on each leg, just like walking. Like.
Dude, I bet that would have been a blast. Yeah, like if the kids' parents were like a normal height, and they just see you, they're just like, what?
Yeah. Like, why is this large white man here? Like, what does he do? Like, that one kid asked me, who am I? I was I don't know.
But yeah, I definitely, there's a special place in my heart, and I'm sure in heaven, for those great elementary teachers.
Well, and also, like, I mean, I have some friends that student taught that had elementary teachers that are good, but, like, we're not, like, understanding, you know, to, like, people who didn't want to teach elementary music, you know, and they're like, no, everything's got to be, like, perfect, and, you know, that kind of, I think that kind of pressure, that's what I'm saying. I think having a good cooperating teacher,
it helps a lot,
makes,
man.
Like, such a huge difference in student teaching for whatever, I'm sure for whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
I would think elementary for sure.
My elementary and middle school cooperating teachers were fantastic. I love both of them, and I think once a year I'll catch up with them still. But the high school I was at, for my observations for what is that? We called it block. I don't know what you guys call it at your respective schools, but it was just like, it was the semester before student teaching.
Oh, okay.
Where you go and observe once or twice a week. Observations. Yeah. For whatever reason, we called it block.
We did a thing at UMHB where our secondary methods class met at Belton Middle School, like whatever, like that class met like Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
And then, so we would meet at the school on Tuesday, Thursday for the 2 hours, and it was like 1 hour we would watch a class, and then we got to like help do stuff. So it was really almost kind of like little spoons of student teaching before you're like all the way in, and
that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's I think that was like a pretty new thing for UMHB when we started it. And I know that, like, I felt a lot more comfortable when I started student teaching because I had done that. Like, I can't imagine some of these kids that are doing music school that never like do anything extra, and then they just get out there to their student teaching and they're like, oh my God, now I'm in front of like a class of high schoolers, and it's their first time being in front of a class like that. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know what the equivalent would be for choir, but it always blew my mind when kids were like, I want to teach high school band. I'm like, cool. So like, where are you teaching like marching band? Like, I don't do that. What?
Yeah.
You're not gonna go tech for a high school, but you want to teach at a high school?
Yeah, that was one of my. It was like, I guess my class at UMHB, there were like, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us that came in together and finished together. You know, like, I think out of 30 in my freshman class.
Jesus.
You know, which, I mean, that's how it is, right? I mean, everywhere. Theory be weeding them out. Yeah. Like, so many people.
I don't think it was that much of a drop off, but yeah, no, that definitely didn't end with all the kids I started with.
But like a few classes behind us, there were like a bunch of these, they were there because they liked to sing or whatever, and like, you know, they did the bare minimum to get by, but like they were never doing anything extra to put themselves in front of an ensemble or in front of any kind of rehearsal. You know, like, I mean, that was partially the best part of us starting Phi Mu Alpha, was like, we just used it as a lab ensemble for ourselves.
Really?
You know, like we were I mean, mostly a vocal chapter because KSI had been there much longer already, you know, so they kind of had like, you know, dibs on the instrumental kids. So, you know, we started Phi Mu Alpha, but we basically just used it as, like, we put on, like, bomb concerts.
Really?
Like, we sounded good. Like, you know, so that was kind of where me and a bunch of my friends that are choir directors now, like, we all kind of, like, cut our teeth on what we were learning in class and, like, in our conducting and those classes and stuff at the time. And then, you know, we'd have Phi Mu Alpha rehearsal, like, once a week. You know, it was, like, whoever was in charge of whatever song, they're running the rehearsal for that 15 or 20 minutes. So
nice. That's cool, man. Yeah. That seems like a really beneficial outlet.
Yeah, I think that anybody who really is serious about wanting to make it as a music educator you got to do more than just
you got to do something outside the classroom.
You know, because whatever you're getting in class isn't gonna.
It's not going to suffice.
No, and that's nobody's fault. Like, there's no way that they could fit any more into a music degree. Like, it's already packed.
We've talked about this as well. We of stuff they didn't teach you,
right?
But can't.
Right, like how to steal what's that thing? A scissor lift. Like,
yeah.
you know,
Hey, if you get a new band hall, you're gonna have to figure out how to use a scissor lift and then put the trophies up at the top.
how to get the scissor lift through a regular sized door and not destroy your brand new door. Like,
or it's your first gig and you have to drive a box truck. Like, just so you know, you're gonna have to.
yeah,
drive
right.
A box truck, just so you know.
Yeah, I heard somebody like messed it up.
Yeah, I don't know who did that. I didn't do that.
Now there's like a special box truck safety course, right?
Yeah.
Let it be known, I have a perfect track record of all box trucks. I can drive anything, and it'll be all right.
That's good for you.
Yeah, it is. It is, right? Downside of that, I am always the one that has to drive things. And it is very, very...
Did y'all like have to drive stuff in college for tours? Or did you always have like charter buses or whatever?
I didn't go on it, but the salsa band did a California tour, and somebody had to drive the box truck from Texas to California.
See, like I sang in a group in college that, I mean, we were going and singing at like churches or schools and stuff like a few times a month usually.
Really?
And we go like on a fall tour and then like on another tour in the spring, you know, but it's like just, I don't know, like 16 to 18 people depending on the year, or some years it was less than that, but we always had to we drove the vans ourselves. Really? So like it was always like who got the short straw of like, you know, and then, but so many of the people being like, I don't want to drive a 16 passenger van. So then there was like 3 or 4 of us that always had to drive.
Gross.
Like 5 a.m. back from Colorado. Oof. Yeah.
Nah, never had to do that. I think all the traveling ensembles were too big to constitute that.
Small school probs.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. What did... Because I didn't do like the Team EA tour when Texas State went. I can't remember what they were... I have a feeling it was a charter bus.
Yeah, when we sang at Southwest ACDA, we took a charter bus. Okay. But most of our other tour stuff is we were driving ourselves.
Rough.
Yeah, small school problems.
Well, you touched on it a little bit ago, man, but you're fixing to be a dad.
Oh, yeah. That's a thing. It's crazy.
What's that like?
Man, it's like... Oh... it's a lot. Like I'm trying to think. The biggest, I mean, I'm excited. Like we're having a little girl, Olivia June, December 14th, 2020. Shout out.
Shout out to Olivia.
I already know that my life is over. In the and I say that in the best way. Like, I mean,
yeah, of course.
When we went to the ultrasound, I feel like that's the first time that it kind of seemed a little real to me. You know, it was like, so we found out like maybe a month into quarantine so Jamie told me like she was pregnant. She like did this whole thing and I was like crying and, you know, like, you know, and it wasn't like totally unexpected. Like, I don't really know. I mean, I hate to say we were trying, but like, I mean, we were like, you know,
guys had been planning to have a kid for a bit.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, it was like, but I wasn't necessarily, I don't know. There were times that I'd be like, oh, like, I wonder if she's pregnant, or, you know, like you kind of wonder in your head, but like with Corona and quarantine and everything that was going on, I just like I hadn't thought about it. And then she surprised me like Easter weekend. And I mean, like, I just was like overwhelmed, like honestly, you know, and so, but honestly, like from that day until the ultrasound, it almost doesn't seem real. Like it's like
okay, that makes sense.
Like we're playing pretend, like you know, like
it's like, oh, we're pregnant. Okay, cool, yeah,
right. Like but at that time, and especially during you know, quarantine and everything, like nothing really changed. Like for me, you know, nothing has really changed at that point for me as the dad. You know, the first trimester for Jamie was like not super rough, but she was just like real tired. So, and her boss is great, like letting everybody work from home in general. So I think in a lot of ways it worked out really well for her. But really, I mean, other than her, like, just kind of being tired, it wasn't anything real different. She didn't look real different. Like, it just was kind of like, oh, we're pregnant. Like, and also you can't really tell anybody yet, which was hard for me. I don't think that I realized how much that was going to, like, bother me. I
get that.
And then also, I mean, and like, not to be all, like, super sad or anything, but, like, I don't think I realized, before we started having friends that are, I mean, kind of in our married group of friends, like, we're the last people to have a kid. Yeah. Okay. So, like, even though we're the same age or older than some of our friends, we're kind of the last of the little group of some of our friends. But just, like, finding out that people have, I used to think, like, miscarriages were, like, super rare. Yeah. And, like, that wasn't, like, a really big thing. And then, like, the older you get, the more, like, people or, like, friends of friends that, like, have gone through that. Yeah. So that was something that was hard for me in the beginning, was, like, kind of obsessing over basically the, like, 4 to 8 or 10 week period, when you do, like, your first real doctor's appointment. Yeah. They kind of say that's, like, the, if that's the time that the chances are higher that you can have a miscarriage. And, so, like, I would probably, like, 2 or 3 nights a week just be, like, wide awake. Just, like, in bed. Really? I mean, just, like, like,
having that much anxiety about it.
Yeah, and that was something that I had never like, had anxiety, really. Like, I mean, I'm a pretty, like, go with the flow person. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, I can compartmentalize things. Yeah. Even if they, if they bother me, like, I can still have kind of logic prevail. Mm-hmm. But that really is maybe, like, the first time that I was like, I can't do anything about this, except just, like, sit here and wait, so that was, like, that was hard, so, like, that was part of it. But on the other hand, it was, like, nothing really changed in our everyday life, from our, other than, she can't have a margarita anymore, like, so, I mean, our daily interactions and things are pretty much still the same at this point, but when we went to the ultrasound, like, that was, like, holy crap, like,
different level.
There's literally a human in there, right. like a real human, and
as opposed to a fake one,
right? Well, and that's the thing. It's like you know it, but you don't, like, exactly know it. About, yeah. And
like, I can imagine what that must have been like to, like, see on a screen, like, that's dude. That's a thing that I did.
And the technology has come so far. Dude, it's crazy. Like, you can literally count, like, the vertebrae on your baby, like, in the womb. It's nuts. Like you can see, like, so much detail, so. Huh? Yeah, it's nuts, man. So when we were there, they were like, oh, yeah, they measure, like, all their bones and stuff, and they measure, right? I feel like this is, like, a thing. Like, we're all guys, and we have no idea. I didn't know either.
I wonder if this is common knowledge.
I don't know.
Yeah, right?
Does women know this? Do women know this?
I feel like they probably do.
Yeah. It's talked about, I'm sure.
But, yeah, so we, like, go in there, and they're, like, taking all these measurements, via the ultrasound, so, like, it's from it's just this little camera thing that they put on, like, the stomach or whatever, and so they're, like, measuring all their bones and how big their head is and all that kind of stuff. And the little nurse lady was like, oh, wow, like, her femurs are really long. And I was like, what? You can tell that, like, right now.
It's like, do I have a tall baby already?
Yes, that's literally. She was like, yeah, right now, like, she's in the 95th percentile for height.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, well, I mean, I'm 6'6", so, like, I guess that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, that's, like, what? That's at, like, 20 weeks. Right. Like, you can tell that. Like, it's crazy. like science, man. Like
Science
way smarter than me. Like
Dude,
figure that stuff out.
That was basically the entirety of the episode I did with Ashley was just like her telling me about all the things that she knows of science, and I was just like, what?
Yeah, you're
what?
just like, I'm just beat on stuff.
Yeah, I hit things with other things and they make noise, and I teach kids how to do that.
Like I can teach you to sight read on solfege. Like I don't know, is that cool?
Like,
yeah, right. Like
get you the hand signs too.
Yeah, I can show you all the alter tone hand signs too. Like, like that's all I got.
Yeah.
But you know,
people out here.
Can you measure vertebrae?
Right? No. In the grand scheme of things, you're not as important.
Not as important.
You know.
Not as important
So
as whoever figured out how to properly measure vertebrae.
Well, and like I was talking to my dad about it, you know, and he was talking about like whenever, you know, like him and my mom had, you know, they're doing the same thing, and I'll say like that's something that's cool. Like the older you get, like I feel like my relationship with my parents has like kind of gone into like a new chapter of like, you know, I'm about to be a parent and asking them now like, okay, like how did y'all do stuff like with me, like, you know, and it's a cool place to be in. But you know, my dad was saying like 30 years ago, the technology was so bad that half the time we still got the gender wrong. You know, like in the ultrasound, it was like the doctor could be like, "Oh, it's a boy," and it just looks like a smudge, like the little thing you're looking at. Whereas like with this, no man, like you can see everything. It's crazy.
That's wild.
So yeah, but pretty much the moment they told us like that we were having a little girl was like I just was like. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, and like I'm a big baby. Like my sisters always give me up. My sisters, my brother are the tough ones, but yeah. So
that's crazy.
I'm already in love. Like I'm already like I'm not even gonna pretend. She's gonna be like, "Can I have?" I'll be like, "Yeah, whatever you want." Like
see, that's the thing I'm not prepared for. Like to be like a
girl dad?
Yeah, especially being a girl dad. Like, the first time she's going to be like, come do this, like, TikTok thing.
Yeah. You're like, okay.
Yeah. I'm
going to make a fool of myself. Yeah.
Whatever you say.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
And also, like, I'm a boy, and I know that, well, and a lot of our friends have little boys. And I was like, well, like, I have this, like, inner like desire now to like join the NRA. I think like start like buying guns, like putting like barbed wire around my house. Like, it's like I can't stop my finger from like purchasing like firearms on the internet. I'm just kidding. I didn't really do that, but like kind of.
But you felt it.
Yeah, I was
felt
like
it deeply.
I was talking to one of my buddies that like just had a baby. Like his wife did maybe like a couple of weeks ago.
Wow. And
they have a little boy, and I was like, yeah, hey, like we're super excited about like your baby, but also stay away. I love you, but stay away. Like, you know, I was like, I know in 18 years you're gonna be like coming around here and just like don't even think about it. Like, I'll kill you.
I will murder you.
In Jesus' name, you will die. Yeah, I don't. It's weird, man. I feel like zero qualified to be a parent. Like.
I don't think anybody does.
I was telling the kids the other day, we were talking, you know, about like 9/11. I was like, I remember being in a high school like 5 seconds ago, and I feel like I'm the same like person. And now it's like I'm gonna have a baby, like the ultimate responsibility.
You're gonna be in charge of someone else's well-being.
Yeah, don't
for at least 18 years.
Don't mess that up.
Do you think that's gonna change the way you like teach?
I think so. I think I've seen that even with like teachers that we teach with, that when they have babies or when they have grandkids, especially some like older teachers, I've seen once they become grandparents, like for whatever reason, it just like softens them up so much. And some of them, that's a good thing, you know, and maybe others not so much. But yeah, I think that I'm sure it'll probably have some kind of effect on me. You know, I think that I've always been partial to like feeling like a dad sometimes with students. Like that's one of my favorite things about where we teach is, you know, that a lot of our students don't have, especially male figures, I think, like that give a crap about them. You know, so I think when you're young, when you first start teaching, it's like maybe you're like the cool older brother or uncle kind of thing. And then the longer, once that age gap gets a little bit bigger, then it's like, yeah, like you almost like kind of can fill a parent void for a lot of kids, like, I mean, like, I'll be honest, like whenever we found out we were having a girl, like I had like 4 or 5 girls that have all graduated that, didn't really have like father figures. And they were always like, yeah, you're our dad, basically. Like, so like I told them, I texted them, I was like, hey, because they were always like, you need to have a girl. Like, you need to have, so I mean, yeah, I think that'll probably, that's a good question, I think. But I would be surprised if it doesn't have an effect on, that would be weird to me if it didn't.
I don't know how it wouldn't.
Right. Yeah. And also probably just because I'll be like a much less effective teacher because like I'll never sleep again. So like, kids are just gonna be like doing whatever they want. I'll be like, yeah, okay.
All right,
just like,
whatever.
I need like 6 more cups of coffee. Like, please leave me alone.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're better equipped to be a dad because you are a teacher?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
I've thought about that a lot.
And not to say that people who aren't teachers cannot be equipped to be good parents.
No, for sure.
But I think especially again where we teach, like, has had such a positive effect on me as a human. I think in forcing me to be much more empathetic than I ever thought that I was. Like I think like growing up I would have thought that I was a very empathetic person, but like growing up in a white family in suburban, America, like, and now teaching where we are, I think that it's given me a more holistic worldview.
Okay.
And I think that it's forced me to really walk in the steps, in the shoes of my students, and think about like, man, you want to talk about like something that's like will mess you up, like thinking about, raising, like what kind of, how is your kid gonna affect society?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like all this stuff happened, like we found out we were pregnant like right around the time like the George Floyd stuff happened.
Yeah.
And I think like all of those things like happening at the same time like really kind of like collided for me, and we're like, man, like I really have a responsibility now to like try and raise my daughter like to be the best human that she can be, like, and that falls on me as to like what I'm exposing her to and how I talk about other groups of people, and I think I think like especially all the little things that a lot of times we don't think about, things we say in passing, all those kind of things that kids pick up on, like our students do.
Yeah.
They hear us whenever we're like frustrated about whatever's going on in our own lives or stuff at school, right?
Yeah.
Like they hear us mumbling or to each other, like, and so to think about like what does that look like with your own kid, like, man, like I really need to, like, it forces you, I think, to examine yourself and say, like, what do I believe? Like, what is important to me? Like, how do I raise this kid with those values?
Yeah.
Because I think that's another thing that's a hard pill to swallow, is that sometimes for whatever reason, like parents can be great, but for whatever reason it
just doesn't work out.
And I think that's one of those like crippling thoughts that if I like let myself think about too much, it's like
it's not a good path.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like Ted Bundy's parents probably didn't like,
intend for him to
be like a serial killer, but like, so yeah, all sorts of things like that like come in your head when you're gonna like have a human soon. So everything from like I need to like make sure their like value system is good to like, or they could just be like a serial killer and I have like no control over that. Like, so yeah, it's a really wide range of emotions, and probably having like ample time during coronavirus to like think about all that stuff could be like real like obsessive sometimes, like, oh my god, like, everything's gonna be awful or everything's gonna be great, and just like constantly
the ups and
like
downs of that, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm excited though. Like I'm thankful. Like, you know, she's healthy. Like everything's looking good.
It's
like
been a good pregnancy the entire time.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and my wife Jamie's a rock star. Like, you know, I'm so blessed. Like I really am. It's so much more than I deserve. Like, so I'm just gonna try really hard not to screw it up.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of my daily motto is like, don't mess it up. Like, don't mess up too much.
Yeah, I get that, man. So now that you're about to be on the other side of it, of being a parent, have you started analyzing your childhood?
You know, I think a little bit, like, but I think my siblings and I have always, like, the three of us have always, like, talked about our childhood.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, like, I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything. Like, truly, like, bumps, bruises, and all. Like, you know, like, I wouldn't trade anything about it. And I think probably the main takeaway that I take from, like, my childhood is I never questioned whether my parents loved me. Like, I never, there was never any question.
Yeah.
You know, even, you know, once I got into high school and, like, you know, my dad and I are very similar personalities, you know, so, like, I think kind of like junior, senior year, there was you know, we would argue some just because I think we're similar in those ways and trying to figure out how to, you know, like, I didn't push the boundary a whole lot, just kind of like I said, like, my dad was in charge, and I'm okay with, like, I think it was healthy, like, a healthy balance of, like, you know, he loved us, and he told us that, and my dad's like a big guy, you know, he's like as big as I am, you know, so I think for, like, him as like a big manly guy, but as also a musician, to, like, tell us all the time that, like, he loved us, you know, I think emotionally was a big helper for me, like, in my emotional growth as a kid.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah.
I think I was always, like, very aware of how I felt or how other people felt, like, as a kid. You know, my brother and sister, it's maybe like so I have a younger sister, and she's probably, like, next, and then my brother is, like, we're polar opposites. So he's a cowboy. Like, he literally works on horseback in West Texas. Yeah. So, like, like, he works cattle.
I forget that that's a real thing. Like, somebody needs to do that job.
He works cattle like it's like 1885.
That's awesome.
I'm not, like, I'm zero lying. Like we both grew up in the same suburban house.
Yeah.
And he owns horses and works on horseback, doesn't really trust banks, like, like, the whole nine. I'm telling, like, it's like he was born in the wrong century.
Like, how did he get?
Like, how did he get there?
Yeah, how did he get it, like, into that?
Okay, so the short version is, so I dated a girl in high school who she did high school rodeo, which I don't know if you know what that is.
No idea.
It's like rodeo events for kind of like you compete. It's not a UIL sanctioned thing,
okay,
but you still compete like as your school or whatever. Anyway,
interesting.
She did that. Excuse me. So that was, like, kind of my into that world, and I mean, I'm not, like, that's not me, but I tried hard to, like, understand and, like,
get behind it.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. You know, we dated for a couple years and it was good, but her mom really liked my brother and kind of took like a liking to him. So even after we broke up, he still did stuff with her.
Gotcha.
And then my grandfather has an old business partner that married into this big, huge ranch out, I guess, south of Amarillo, north of it, in a town called Clarendon. It's like 45 minutes from Amarillo. I can't ever remember which direction. But I mean, it's like It's called the Row Ranch, and it was like at one time it was like one of the largest operating ranches in Texas. So
wow.
So my brother started going up there in the summers to work on that ranch, and then after he graduated high school, and he like by that time he had like embraced like the cowboy thing, right? So like we're
full-blown cowboy,
right? So my high school, so Pflugerville High School is very, like, the makeup of it is very similar to where we teach.
Yeah.
Like, and Ethan was, like, 100% against the grain. Like, like, the Wranglers, and truthfully, I respect him so much for that. Like, he could give a crap what anybody else ever thought of him.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I'm a cowboy. Like, like one time, his senior year, some kid was like pissing him off, so he like roped him. Like,
what?
Yeah, man, I'm not lying. Like, my parents knew the principal real well, like, because he was my sister's AAU coach, and I had already graduated. So he like calls up my dad, and he's like, so I got Ethan here in my office. Which my brother was, like, always the trouble one, like, of the three of us. And my dad's like, what do you do? You know, like, and he's like, well, I'm going to be honest, like, I'm not, like, real mad, but I just, like, it was like, he roped this kid off his bike, like, because he was, like, making fun of him or something, you know. And my dad was like, okay, well, what do I need to do? And he was like, I don't think anything, but I just wanted you to know, like, you know, so, I mean, like, that's my brother. Like, he doesn't.
That's impressive.
He could give two craps what anybody thinks, and he is like a man's man. Like if he were to shake your hand, you would feel like he's like gotta be 60, Oof. Just like rough,
yeah,
like grown man hands.
Some cow hands,
dude. every time I talk to him on the phone, he's like on horseback with. Wrangling cows. Like, I'll talk to him. Like, when we called to tell him about the baby. Yeah. You know, like, hey, you know, we got something to tell you. And he's like, oh, what's going on, man? I had to, you know, like, hey, get out there. Like, just, like, yelling at, like, cows on the phone, like, while we're talking to him.
Trying to tell him that you're about to have a baby.
Yeah. I was like, well, you're going to be an uncle. He's like, wait, what'd you say? You know, like, I mean, that's just, it's a different world.
Yeah.
It literally... It's like stepping into a different universe or stepping back in time.
It must be like so weird for like Thanksgiving, like telling different stories.
Yes,
about, like...
and my sister's a nurse, so we're all like super
all over the place.
Yeah,
it's way different spectrums.
Yeah, it's but like her and I have some crossover because she was in choir and she also plays drums. She played in middle school. She didn't play in high school.
Gotcha.
But she's a very good musician. But she's like super smart, like, you know, she's a charge nurse, I think, like at, I don't know, how old am I? 30, so she's 27.
Okay.
You know, I mean, she's smart, she's a hard worker, you know, so like, I think we all like have that, but her and my brother have some overlap, and then her and I have some overlap, but like, you know, Ethan and I, like, we love each other, but, like, we just don't share a whole lot in common. Like,
not much.
You know, so, but all that to say, we all talk about, like, our childhood, and I think the other day I just posted something on Facebook talking about how, I mean, we fought all the time. Like, you know, we threw down in our house. Like, yeah, like, my sister would frequently like hit my brother in the head with the remote. I mean, I'm talking like throw it hard, like in the face, like or Ethan would, my little brother was like super ornery as a kid.
Yeah.
And dude, God bless my parents. I don't know how they made it through his childhood. Kid would like go up to you, like he'd look you in the eyeballs and just like kick you in the shin. And then, like, my dad would whoop him, right? And he would come back with tears in his eyes, like, still from the whooping he just got, and look you in the eyes, tears streaming down his face, and kick you in the shin again. Just to be like, I'm more stubborn than you. Like,
God bless.
Yeah, dude,
That's impressive.
It was a crazy, yeah, our house was, like, kind of, like, famous for all the crazy antics that would happen between the three of us. But, you know, even even with all that, I think we all we're super thankful for our parents. Like, we're super supportive of us. You know, I mean, kind of like Evan was saying, we're all three very different. Mm-hmm. My sister and I did music, but we all played sports to some degree. You know, so I mean, they were at every game, every concert. My dad would come watch football practice.
Really?
You know, so I mean, like they really, I think, set a good example of what it looks like to support your kids no matter what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think anybody's childhood's ever perfect. But I really, man, if I could go and do it over again, there's probably some stuff I wouldn't do. But I think for the most part, man, I think my parents did a pretty bang-up job of raising three people. And all three of us, you know, like, nobody's in jail. Like, nobody's, like, doing meth. Like, you know, which, like, I mean, I guess if you want to do meth, like, you know, more power to you, I guess. I don't know. Like, I'm not doing that.
If you do it responsibly, maybe.
Right. I'm not for that. But, you know, like, you know, we're all contributing members of society in our own area, our own walk of life, you know. So to me, I think that's a pretty good indicator that they worked hard, you know, to raise us well. I think, you know, I know a lot of people that didn't work out, you know, with their kids or that they don't have a relationship with their kids anymore. You know, so that's it's weird to be thinking about, like, being responsible for that now. So, like, don't screw it up.
Well, shoot, I think it's a good thing to end on.
Yeah, man.
Right there, man. But I mean, with that being said, any final thoughts? Anything that you are looking forward to? Anything that you're hoping for in the near future, in the far future?
Man,
words of wisdoms.
All I got is, like, I don't know. The older I get, the less I know. I don't know anything, man. I don't know. I'm excited to see what this year's gonna look like. Yeah. But also
very terrifying.
Yeah, but I'm also, like, ready to get back to some kind of normalcy if we can. But no, I'm just thankful. Like, truthfully, you know, like, there's so many people and so many things that happen in my life that are I don't deserve, you know. So I'm trying to practice gratitude and thankfulness, and, you know, like, I'm thankful for friends like you guys. I'm thankful for the school, the district we work in. So yeah, I don't know. I think at this stage of my life is we're about to have a new life. Yeah. And then, like, seeing, you know, my grandparents are, like, 90, you know, and kind of like seeing them at the end of their life, and then my parents kind of taking that role. It's very surreal, you know, and it's kind of just made me, like, try and be thankful for the time that I have with people I care about. So
yeah. Well, I appreciate you being on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Evan, as always, thank you, sir. Everybody that stayed with us to the very end, thank y'all very much. Y'all be easy. Peace. Thank you.